Shall we start? Let me guess, they say you're mad because you dream of roadless maps, nameless destinations. Coward! You reek of talent, think you're different, unique. We'll see. You're dying to invent, do the not yet done, possible the impossible, but not all alone, with someone like me. And who am I? Some call me the train, others opportunity, the chance. I'm more than you know yet. Your missing part. What you still are not, what you want still, what you need still. I can point the way, be the anthem to sway, the card you need, and the voice you heed. I'm the obstacle, the shortcut, memory, fortune, a helping hand, the perfect moment, the right step forward, for moving onward, the opposite shore, the promised land. I'm the mistake, the applause, the problem, the solution, the pitch, the goal. I'm Marion, I'm Carl, I'm David, I'm Beth, I'm Frank, I'm Ria, I'm Ali, I'm Jeff, Basher. I am you. Shall we start?
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello, Catarina. Hello, Vincent.
Hello. Boa tarde.
How is everyone who is listening to us? Well, thank you so much for being here with us. Today we are here through an invitation by Dimium. Dimium incubates Crave among other startups, and Crave is the startup of Vincent Van Dessel, who is here with us today, together with Joana Lacerda from Fundamento. Since they have so much to tell you about a bit of their journey and where they have been, which industries, maybe I'll let them introduce themselves, because I believe they have so much value to add just with a simple introduction. So Vincent, if you want to start as an incubated startup by Dimium, tell us a bit more about you and your path.
Yes, hello. So I'm Vincent, and I'm the founder and the CEO of Crave. Before I arrived to Crave, I had quite a long journey, I think. First of all, I always introduce myself as old Vincent versus new Vincent. And the old Vincent was somebody that worked 17 years for corporate clients. I was head of an agency, a CEO also. I was 17 years in advertising, working for all the big multinationals, pushing linear products, not only in Europe, but also in Asia. Because before I choose Lisbon, and I will tell you more about my motivation to start my startup out of Lisbon, I was 5 years in Asia. And so when I talk about the new Vincent, it's somebody that 3 years ago also realized that he didn't want to be in the system of multinationals, corporates, and really wanted to make an impact also. So I introduce myself sometimes like an ex-admin who got a conscious. And it completely revolutionized my life, I think also. So after I decided to leave advertising and to quit my job as a CEO in Indochina, I really wanted to go to the startup ecosystem. So I involved a bit in startups. Before starting my own startup, I wanted to learn as much as possible. So I said, first, let mentor startups also, that I see what kind of problems they struggle with, that I get learnings of it and see how I can apply it in my own startup venture. So I started with Cricket One. It's all about cricket protein, and circular economy was a lot in my life without even knowing it. And I think it will be for a lot of listeners or even future entrepreneurs also the case that you sometimes are attracted to circular economy, but without knowing the concept of circular economy. And that's what happened in my case. So I was busy with a startup with food waste that would be turned, or plant waste that would be turned into cricket feed to make cricket proteins. And cricket proteins are the future. I haven't seen any cricket startup here in Portugal, but I was busy with that, and it was the first time that I came in contact with circular economy. And then I came back from Asia in January 2019 because I had to come back for family reasons, and I needed to decide where I wanted to be in Europe. After 5 years Asia, it was not so easy to return from Belgium because I'm originally from Belgium. And so the big change for me came where I saw the light about impact entrepreneurship with a book that somebody gave me, Can Entrepreneurs Save the World? And the answer is yes, of course. It made me understand also that we don't need to be obsessed anymore with financial metrics also, but really on the impact of society also. So that was my first step in my journey to create Crave. So I said, impact entrepreneurship is what I want to do. I learned a lot about the sustainable development goals, also how it impacts the future development of businesses. And I joined Generous Minds, a collective in Amsterdam that helps social enterprises. There I was the first time in contact with some people that did PhDs in circular economy and gave me also 2 books on how we need to design, produce, and consume completely different. And from that moment, I became a firm believer of circular economy. I think sustainability is not going far enough, and we can have a later discussion about it, about what sustainability really means. I think we need to go circular. And so last year, I decided to come to Lisbon for a whole lot of reasons that I will highlight later, because I think what Lisbon is doing right now is very interesting from a startup ecosystem on the point that we are. So I decided to come to Lisbon. And in the meantime, I had a first idea about a circular economy, marketplace, a commerce, but also a content, because a lot of education that is needed about circular economy. I was selected by a European program by EIT Raw Materials with universities of Lund and Trento. And I learned a lot about circular economy over the last year also. We won the jury prize of this program. So for me, it was a motivation to say, okay, I really need to start with the company and with the idea and do it out of Lisbon. And it has been a long search to find the right partners here in Lisbon, the ecosystem. I'm going to highlight you a lot more about my experiences in which are the right organizations, but also are certain barriers to come there. but Endemium is certainly also part of it, but it will be certainly more in our talk during the next hour.
Thank you so much, Vincent. It was such an incredible path, and I believe many of the people who are listening to us, maybe they started as well in a linear career or linear production economy model. So we all have some shifts in our lives, and I am really pleased to see you found your passion. And Joana, I was very curious. Do you also have this kind of story about, did your life change somehow?
Yes, a lot. So hello, Catarina. Hello, Vincent. Thank you to Dimium also for this invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with such like-minded people. So yes, I have a really like a roller coaster story. So I am a former architect. So my background is in architecture, in social and humanitarian architecture. And back when I was studying, I understood that like our creativity can be a tool for change making. And since then, I have been focusing a lot on it and finding myself in social impact more and more. So when I finished my master's degree, I founded my first startup with a colleague of mine. Back at that time, we were solving the refugee issues in Europe. So it was in 2015 when the refugees boom arrived in Europe. So we were mostly solving the refugees issues through architecture. So architecture was a tool, and our creativity was a tool to solve some humanitarian and human rights problems. So that startup led me to live in Germany and to be on refugee camps, to meet a lot of persons. I was at the Social Impact Lab, which is one of the biggest social impact incubators in Europe. And back at that time, I got to know the term of circular economy and circular design and the design thinking methodologies. So I immediately fell in love with it, and I started to search more about it. So I'm a self-taught person and in love with circular design still. So at that time, I decided to study more about that. So I got in touch with lots of startups and started to make the change between Joana as an architect to Joana as a change maker. So I think that we all pass through this process, and it is a really, really nice and interesting process of finding yourself and how you can change the world, or at least your world. And that led me to create the second startup, which was called The Changing Futures, where we used design thinking as a tool for integration of refugees in urban centers. We worked a lot with Leipzig University and the innovation department of the university, which then took the project, and it's still an ongoing project. And back at 2016, I came back to Porto again. So I was born and raised in Porto, the north of the country. And started working with Porto Design Factory, a project from Porto Polytechnic to rethink education and the future of the next generations. And at Design Factory, I focus a lot on the social impact area and the circular economy also. And from that, I worked with the City Hall in the innovation department of the City Hall in a project called Scale Up Porto also. So I mentored lots of startups. And now I am working with Lisa Lang on O Fundamento, which is a revolutionary company from the north, which is working in the new age of manufacturing. And we call it the new age of manufacturing, which is exactly focusing a lot on the mission of sustainability. So how can we rethink the entire system and how we can really create change through manufacturing? So I can further explain this concept of the new age of manufacturing in our conversation. Yes, but that was just to give you an idea of what we are working in.
It's really nice to have the new Vincent and Joana, the change maker, here with me, and to be with all of you. I already have so many questions for both of you, and I invite also who's listening to us. So if you want, you can leave some questions on the chat on here on YouTube, and I can check your questions and also ask them, because I believe you may have as many questions as I do. And one of the questions I would like to start with is, well, you are both makers in a way, you're both entrepreneurs. And Vincent, you told us that entrepreneurs can change the world. And what I would like to ask is, how do you think, Vincent, how is the importance of brands? How important are brands to making sustainable innovation a success?
Well, I think from a change perspective, of course, you have on one hand consumers, and on the other hand you have corporates also. And we can also make a division also, because what we research also, a certain moment, we wanted to research how well circular design, circular production is adopted also by companies, because that's the companies we want to work with. And first of all, what I see is, or you have very innovative startups where circular economy is really in the heart of the DNA of the company. And so the kind of products that they will produce can change. I give you an example. For example, you have Schizo. Schizo is a sneaker brand also here that I discovered. And I talked a lot with the founder also about what their motivations was, because they made sneakers of recycled plastic that they capture in the seas. And I said, okay, sneakers, is that your core product? And he said, no, for us, it's just pollution, cleaning up with the plastic. We can make so many other products. So after the sneakers, they came also, of course, with the masks that we all need. They came with bags. So if you see one hand, if you see circular startups, for them, it's more about the aim of the objective to solve a certain pollution or circular question, and they can produce a whole kind of different ranges. Another brand, Waltic, it's clocks that are made out of plastic also. And I said, again, are the clocks really, are the watches? Is that what you really want to produce? No, much more. So I think that on one hand, I see really circular startups that are really pushing also corporates to rethink differently. Then you have also corporates that really start with sustainable experiments. And I give you an example, Tommy Hilfiger, they were also on Web Summit. So I met him in Amsterdam last year, and I thought, again, watch out, multinational, circular economy, greenwashing, how credible are they? And I have also developed a certain aversion against multinationals, about how sincere they are, or big companies. But I was really surprised, because some of the companies, not every multinational is a bad multinational or a greenwashing multinational. There are really visionary, bigger companies that try with capsule collections, first experiments, and then they want to roll it out over the whole production line. And I was very surprised by Tommy Hilfiger on the Web Summit, how they took circular economy practices as their main element that they wanted to show. So I think you have different kind of companies. You have the circular startups, you have the corporate companies that really want to go forward, start to experiment with capsule collections, and therefore our platform is really interesting also, because otherwise they're accused of greenwashing anyway, because consumers say 99% of what you produce is not circular, 1%, so where is your credibility? So you need to see also that you give them a platform, because even if you have the companies with the good intentions, they're quickly accused also from greenwashing. And then on the other hand, if I see from a consumer point of view, also we have a power as consumer also to really pressure corporates to change, to go forward also. And it's in the way on how you consume. Every euro that you spend it wise. And if I see how I changed I was an overconsumptor in the old Vincent, and how conscious I consume now, to which companies I want to give my money. So I think there is a power from the consumer, but also from the circular startups that really can drive bigger companies to innovate quicker and adapt to what the realities of our market. So, because I wanted to maybe highlight one thing also to everybody here. When I learned that we consume 1.7 times the Earth resources, then you really understand that it's 12 even, and that we need completely change, consume in a completely different way.
That's very, you told us a lot of very interesting things. And one of the things I also agree, and maybe Joana has seen it in the industry, is that every time a company makes something differently or more sustainable, if they are big, as you were saying, it happened with you, with Tommy Hilfiger, well, people automatically switch the greenwashing button. So, and you were saying something very interesting. We as consumers have a vote, and we vote with our money. So we vote to circular projects that then push the barriers for bigger brands. And Joana, do you think this happens this way also in Portugal in the industry? When big brands feel the pressure and start doing something?
Yes, I think that first of all, it's important to think that manufacturing affects all the three dimensions of sustainability. So it affects economy, it affects the environment, and of course it affects society. So for manufacturing and for the industry, it is really the circular shift. It's a really huge challenge. And of course, when brands think about growth, and of course when industry think about growth, because industry is all about growth, we need to think about smart growth. So I think that this is one of the biggest challenges of our generations, and we need to be brave enough to try and to experiment new business models. And as Vincent was saying, of course, the greenwash button happens with big brands, but it also happens with industry. And I think that everything starts and ends in the industry. So we need to really do the shift and be brave to say no sometimes, and be brave to question our clients and what they really want, if it is a real greenwashing or if it is a real purpose that is behind the mission and the product. And of course that it always comes to new kind of business models, and the close the loop model requires products that are designed for durability, for standardization of components, for modularity. And this is all very easy to think, and sustainability as a theory is very sexy, but who is going to give up on the profits to really make it happen? And this is all about new business models. And I think that thinking in the input, output, and profit is very important, and we can't ourselves do our greenwashing and taking the part of profit away, because in the end of the day we are talking about business, and sustainability itself needs to be profitable. Otherwise it will always be for one niche of the society. And I think that if we really want to change the speech about sustainability, we need to make it affordable for everyone. And this is achieved internally in the industry. So of course, we have this huge background in Portugal of industry. And of course, I'm talking more about the fashion and the textiles, because this is the area where we are mainly focused in. And for us, it is really important. And we have been doing this work for 1 year almost, of re-educating the industry and to understand the power of technology behind sustainability. So all this speech, and I don't know if I'm going away of your question. Sorry, Catarina.
No, you're not going away at all. I think it's very important what you're saying. And it's very specifically interesting. Vincent, I think you want to say something, right?
Yeah. I just wanted to add something also, because I think it's much more than only a revolution in business models. If you see also a circular economy, it's a whole systemic change, because you go from a linear to a circular model. And what we also tracked, if you go to a systemic change, also for companies, circularity or sustainability has an impact on so many different levels of a company, of a production process also. And what I see also with companies, circular companies, pioneering circular companies, everybody is at level 1 of circularity, of sustainability, because it's a systemic change. It has an impact in the supply chain. It has an impact on how you design products, what kind of materials are you going to use, how you produce. Once that the product is final, you need to get it to the consumer. So it's a very long process. And what is one of the obstacles, I think, now also is we really need to reunite a whole ecosystem with, if it's from a producer point of view. And I met also Lisa and O Fundamento, and I think they're doing great stuff because it's more from a production point of view in the materials and the thing, but afterwards also you need to market it and you need to get the product until the doorstep. So it's a very long system, and it's all about collaboration and finding this ecosystem and leveraging every piece of the puzzle.
And it's so interesting you're saying that, Vincent, because we just received a question on the YouTube chat that's also regarding the marketing parts, regarding consumers. Do we need to educate consumers, or should we expect them to already know they have to demand sustainability without education? And this is a really good point, because we are in an era where everything produced in plastic is bad, anything produced in other materials is automatically good, and then we accuse companies of greenwashing, and then some of them are doing well, and we need to educate ourselves. But what is your point on this? Do we need to educate consumers? Is this another step in the marketing?
Yeah. So yeah, education is just key, and it has also our platform for Crave has also pivoted, because what we realized also in consumer research is when you, for example, talk about circular economy, it's a very pioneering concept also, that it's still very niche. And we realized also it's also a very complex matter. So the challenge is also, how can you explain circular economy in a very simple way, educate on the 5-6 different dimensions that we have on circular economy. And so it's all about education. So that's why we pivoted also our platform to a content and commerce platform. And the content is so important that you make people aware. And I can speak also from my own experience, as from the moment that I started to do webinars, the more that I realized what all the issues are, the more that I became aware, and the more that I started to adapt my consumer behavior also. So education is a key component in making the circular economy revolution a success.
And do you believe, Joana, this is also important for the industry?
Sure. Yes, 100%. We at Fundamento have did several what we call community projects, and our community projects are exactly the way we found to show our clients, which in this case are brands, because we are a B2B company. But so it's a way to show what can be done, because what we are bringing back to the companies and to the brands is the power of making and knowing how things are made. This is something that people forgot with times, and that's why it is so important for us to explain what can be done, what can be affordable if we challenge ourselves and our brands to rethink the way how things are done. And for instance, we did a really nice project which became a successful crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter called the Knitting Project. And with the Knitting Project, what we did was we took advantage of stopped knitting machines, which were old enough to do the new kind of knitting patterns that are needed, and we just simply reprogrammed it. So we are talking about technology, and technology is adaptable, and this is super important. So we showed our clients that by reprogramming and upgrading these machines, which were stopped and considered old to be working, we showed them that it is possible to translate our thinking and translate art in a new way, simply by understanding the machines. So, of course, for us, it is super important education, and it's a new and a different level of education, of course, but communicated to our clients, it is impactful and it really generates change. So, yes, 100%.
I want to add something maybe also just from a B2B perspective, what we see also, if you go for more established companies also, and you want to reach a CEO and really explaining the benefits of circular economy, you need to do it by a cost efficiency part also. That's the only way how you get in. And it is by embracing circular economy also, there is a cost efficient component, because pure resources and raw materials, they will be not there anymore. So they will be more and more expensive. So if you have already integrated now this whole recycled material thinking in the production of your processes, you will benefit also. But from a B2B point of view, they will only listen if it's by the money and not only by the impact story. You need to combine both from an educational point of view.
That's so important because education goes through all of the steps, right? And there are a lot of steps. And you were saying, Vincent, before, like we have to, before the marketing phase, we have the production phase that Joana also talks about. And we have all these steps. So I have to ask you, like, as an entrepreneur, if you want to create something new, if you want to create a company, a circular company that adds value to society and in the environment, what are your challenges and how can you make it happen? Because there's a lot of steps. So maybe not, I don't know, Joana, do you want to start because you've also accelerated other companies?
Yes, I think that thinking about the business model, it is very important. Of course, the purpose and the business model are going in parallel, and of course knowing the mission and why you are doing it, the problem you are solving, it is very important. But of course thinking about the business model is for me the key for circularity and for impact. So yeah, I think that of course this conversation about profitability and sustainably financial startups, it is very important. Otherwise, sustainability is just a theory. But I think that being close enough to the ones who make it is very important. Also, while you are running a startup, so not only thinking about your product, but being able to be close to the people who make stuff, you learn a lot with them, and you learn a lot how to rethink your product and how to optimize it. If we are talking about a product, but if we are talking about a service, it's exactly the same, because the entire chains behind the service need to be validated near the ones who make it happen. So and this is one of the things that we in Portugal have as a superpower, because we have a small country which is able to produce. So we have a huge industrial background, and we have a country which is also known for the technology and advancements. So I always see Portugal as like Lisbon is the front end and Porto is the back end. So we are able to really generate that. And I think that to create a successful startup, it is very important to have both parties. So have, of course, besides the team and all these things, but knowing your business model and being near the ones who make it happen. It is very, very important. And we have it all in Portugal, such a small country and such a special country.
I can't agree more, because it's very interesting what you say about proximity also. A certain moment when we mapped the circular brands and the circular companies where we wanted to work with, we developed the startup out of Portugal, but with European reach. So we said, okay, let's map also where we see a lot of circular brands from a production point of view and where the companies are, if also their headquarters. And to our surprise, a lot of them were in Portugal. So even if Portugal as a circular, mature country is not so high ranked, you see a lot of startups here also, just because, again, it's a proximity next to the production. It's, the whole past and the history of craftsmanship that is here, and that really mixed with the innovation that we see now makes Portugal a very interesting country to be in as a circular startup. And we see it with the startups that we're working. They are all based here in Portugal. So proximity is certainly key.
So you believe in Portugal we are very... we have an advantage because we do have the technology and the front end, as Joana was saying, in Lisbon, and we have the production, manufacturing, and the back end in Porto, right? But Vincent, you are creating your own startup, Crave. So, or you have created. What were your main struggles? Because I believe you had some, no?
Yes, of course. So of course you have, first of all, the general struggles of every entrepreneur, if you're in Portugal or in the Netherlands or in Belgium or whatever. So they are general. You need to have a lot of passion, I think, first of all, for your product, because you need to eat, breathe, and live the platform or the startup that you create. So I think that are just more the general challenges as an entrepreneur. But when I arrived here and I had my concept that won the jury prize by the EIT program, then it's only started. So I was alone. I needed to find also the right people. I needed to find the right accelerator. I needed to see also what kind of ecosystems that you have here. So I think, first of all, the difficulty for an entrepreneur, and certainly if you come more from an impact point of view, is that you have two different ecosystems. So Web Summit has been an incredible accelerator also for the ambitions of Portugal and Lisbon to position Lisbon as a real startup hub and a tech startup hub in Europe. So you have that ecosystem that has been developing, and where you see really, I call it the tech ecosystem. And then you have the impact ecosystem. And of course, if you come with a digital product, you need to see and navigate in which ecosystem that you really can find the right people, because you need to have people that have also the impact dimension, but in the meantime also have the right tech background. So it's finding these people, merging them, and I think it's everywhere in the world also a real challenge. I think every business needs to become an impact business. Every business needs to be a sustainable business. If you are not a sustainable company, you have no reason to exist anymore. So it's all about merging, first of all, impact versus tech and business. And so what I did also, I started to mentor also for Mates X, and Mates X is a pan-European accelerator, an impact accelerator. They have the ambition to build unicorns, impact unicorns out of Portugal. I'm a very big fan for them. I mentored also some of the startups. So that's how I arrived in the impact. So I first explored the impact ecosystem. We had Casa de Impacto. That's part of Santa Casa. You have Maze X. You have different programs like Rise, the Santa Casa Challenge, or incubator or accelerator programs. And then you're really in the impact ecosystem. But it was not enough, because I needed also to find people with the right technical background, with the right technical expertise, that also have a certain business view. And that's always a little bit the duality between impact entrepreneurs and tech entrepreneurs. Impact entrepreneurs don't think enough business. Tech entrepreneurs don't think enough impact. And I think that's one of the main challenges that we see all over the world, how we need to bring it together. So for me, the challenge was, I was once in the ecosystem of the more regular accelerators, and Demium was for me the more tech accelerator. But I was very surprised that 3 out of the 5 projects were all impact startups. So you see also that they can move also into that domain. On the other hand, I think the impact startups need to embrace much more the tech and the business ecosystems. So that's first of all the first barrier that I had. So in which ecosystem can I find the right persons? I needed to find a co-founder. I needed to be accelerated. Then again, also you have this split between regular accelerators or incubators or the impact incubators, and the rules are different also. It's another kind of business also again. So it's all about merging those two. So I think that was a challenge, but I found after networking a bit, being visible in a lot of events also, you have also the Impact Hub, for example, that they opened here. So Amsterdam has the biggest, and they opened now one in Lisbon since 2 years also. So you see a lot of movement here and a lot of people that are coming also. I think that's also a force in a certain extent, that you have this mix between expats that are coming here also, all for the good reasons, because I think also if I needed to think also where I was going to start my startup also, and Lisbon was for me really the right choice also. One of the reasons is also the low cost of living. If you make a startup, you don't make money the first years also, so you live on a reduced budget. If I need to do it out of Amsterdam, out of Lisbon, the financial cost is completely different also. So that was one of the reasons also. Low cost of living, an ecosystem that is thriving, that I see that with a lot of ambitions also of Portugal and Lisbon. The Creativo that they are now also building, this whole startup campus. So we're only at the beginning, I think, of so much potential that will be leveraged in the next years. And that's linked to a more governmental strategy on how to position Portugal in Europe as an eco-startup. So that's positive. Negative is administration. Administration is a nightmare here. So happily, I lived in Vietnam for 4 years. So compared to Vietnam, it's quite okay. But compared to countries in North and Central Europe, they're much more advanced in also in driving from an administration point of view. Another thing is the mentality. I think you have also two kind of Portuguese at the moment that I've encountered also. So you have the ones that really understand that diversity is key and that you really need to marry expats, expertise from Portuguese that live here, and that diversity is the key to go forward. And then you have other people that I met also that are still very closed, protected, and don't let you in. So you come into two clusters of people. I think the young generations have really understood it, but sometimes the decision makers in bigger funding programs or whatever, they will have sometimes a little bit a people first reflex, which is understandable, and that I have seen also in other countries. But I think it's all about embracing the flow of new people that are coming here, and together we make the best out of it. So I think that's certainly, and then the funding, I think one of the key issues also, but you see also an evolution there, is the funding, because a lot of people, also startups here, they think too small. They think only Portugal. And I think it's completely wrong. You need to think big. You need to dream. You need to see impact is about scalability. So if you come with an impact startup also, you don't need to limit it to Portugal. You need to try to conquer Europe or the world. That needs to be your ambition also. So sometimes I think also people still think too small and need to think much bigger also in the projects that they launch.
So many interesting points, Vincent. I was delighted listening to really, and I think, well, you are very much aligned with what Joana told us, that in Lisbon we have all the tech, all the front end. In Porto we have the back end, and we need to connect the right people, and you need to be near those people. And of course, yes, I know administration in Portugal is a huge mess. I'm so sorry you had to experience that. But also, Joana, I know you are from an industry standpoint. And I'm not asking you for the struggles of the industry, but do you believe the industry is close enough to those who want to make change, but are still small and haven't yet scaled to what Vincent was telling, to conquer the world?
Yes, and it was really, really interesting to hear you, Vincent, talking and your perspective about the Portuguese ecosystem and society. I totally agree with you. And being a Portuguese person, it is really, really nice to hear that, because it's exactly what we are seeing. And from our point of view, the industrial point of view, and it is really interesting to hear your thoughts about the entrepreneurship ecosystem, because we have a real entrepreneurship ecosystem in Portugal, which is called industry. We have hundreds of years of heritage of businessmen doing real business. And if you think that, for instance, for Europe, Portugal is one of the industrial fashion and textiles backbone industry, because we really, really know how to do business. Of course, from a geographical point of view, we are in a really nice position in the map. But also we think of, and for several years, we have been thinking on how to adapt technology to better improve the way how we manage our companies. And this is something that I think that all startups can learn from industry. And when you are together with the industry, you understand that so much. And hearing the experiences of all these familiar businesses, it is really, really great to see how they overcame challenges like the crises they have been passing, and the one that is yet to come. The way they are looking at it, it is really, really inspiring also. So going to your question, Catarina, I think that, of course, from the industrial point of view, we don't see as many challenges as Vincent found in Lisbon. But yes, I think that there is one really, really great challenge yet to be overcome, which is working together more with startups and universities. I think that more and more the industry is working together with universities, but still there is kind of a fear of startups, because the startup founders are the crazy persons who don't know how to make things and come with crazy ideas, and they want to change the systems, and the industry is not yet adapted to it. So this kind of new speech that the fresh blood is bringing, and all the internationals which are coming to Portugal are bringing, we are feeling it a lot also at Fundamento, because Lisa is a German person with such an innovative thinking, and for us to find the speech, to have the right Portuguese way to talk with the industry was also a challenge, and it is still. And all this path and the battles that we are always having in terms of sustainability and circularity models, it is also a challenge for us. So it is, at the same time, it is a good battle to be done, and for us it is always a funny thing to do, but business-wise, it is a challenge. So this mindset that Vincent was talking about, the entrepreneurship ecosystem, we feel it a lot in the industrial one, even though we have hundreds of years of great heritage and we have very, very successful businesses.
Joana, you were saying, well, there's some kind of resistance from the industry standpoint towards new companies and startups, the creative ones, the crazy ones. And you also said before, like a few minutes ago, that the industry was the start and the beginning, so and the end. So you need everything circles around the industry. And as Vincent was saying, for startups, it's important to find partners who are aligned with what they're searching for. So maybe we need to bring a lot of Lisbon to Porto and a bit of Porto to Lisbon. And well, since we are here from Lisbon, Porto, the crazy designers, the crazy ideas, and the industry, how can we do it? How can someone that has a startup like Vincent go to a factory in the north of Portugal and say something like, well, I need to make this. And I know you've never made it before, and maybe there's a language barrier here, but just let us do this together. What's the best way to do it, Joana?
Well, that's exactly why Fundamento was born. So when we say we are the new age of manufacturing, is exactly that. So we are people who are able to talk the technology language and to talk the manufacturing language. So it's hardware and software at the same time into the same brain, which is kind of complicated, which is kind of a challenge, but that's exactly the work that we have been doing for 1 year now, and that is showing its own results. So it is very important to have someone in the middle, and I think that the fundamental role is exactly that, to be the connector between those who have the ideas and those who are able to make, and to be able to translate and to make it in a new kind of language, which is between the innovation and the heritage. So it is exactly what we call the new age of manufacturing. So being able to speak both languages, and until we find one which is so strong that it doesn't need to be a company anymore, and it is for everyone. But still we are figuring out, and we are understanding that it is a huge problem, mainly for not only for the ones who came to live in Portugal and to start their own businesses here, but mainly for those who are externals and want to produce here. Because here, of course, we have quality, we have geographical location, which is very, very interesting also. So for those who are outside the country to come here and to immediately find the right partners or the right manufacturers to be able to speak their language, it requires a long. And that's exactly where Fundamento is positioned.
Yeah, I wanted to add something because, of course, I was very happy to meet. So I went to Porto also. If you say you need to connect Lisbon with Porto also, before COVID, I had like a long list of people that I had to meet in Porto. So one person introduced you to another one. And so I was very happy to go there a few weeks ago, where I met also Fundamento, because I was looking for that also. I said, okay, we have, of course, or front-end with our marketplace or content, but we really want to help companies also from A to Z. And when I met O Fundamento and when Lisa also explained what they were doing, it was music to my ears, because more than a year ago, when I arrived also in Lisbon, of course, I saw the potential of the Makers Union, the heritage, the craftsmanship. But my big question was also, is Porto ready also to go to a more circular and sustainable way? And a few weeks ago, I was in Porto, and the ecosystem that I met there, I was very impressed. And they said also, of course, we are ready. And the people in Porto were also ready to do so, but the fashion brands were not ready to do so. So the mentality is there, the mindset is there. Also, I think there is also a big circular awareness with people, because Portugal has so much nature. So of course your connection with nature and the beauty of nature also inspires you about preservation of nature. And so when I see the people that I meet, I think there is the right mindset. There are the initiatives also, and that's why we are on such an interesting tipping point where we can really give all the building blocks, where you have the manufacturing, where you have the materials, where afterwards if you want to market it. So I think we're in a good way to create a real system with different actors that can play each their role where they have their expertise.
That's so interesting. I'm from Lisbon. I have a huge passion for Porto, and I believe Porto will be it is already an upgraded version of Lisbon when it comes to the startup environment. And I say this because, you were mentioning the lifestyle is a bit more affordable in Lisbon than in Holland, for example, in Belgium or in Holland or somewhere in the Central European countries. And Porto is even a bit better then, and you are close to industry. And so the tech part is in Lisbon, maybe, yeah, okay. But the tech part you can do via Skype or Zoom or YouTube. So Porto is a really interesting city to start a company. And Vincent, I was wondering, because Joana brings us the industry points, and you bring us the B2B part where you talk to other brands, and then the B2C part when you talk to consumers. And my question here regarding all of this conversation we are having is, we are talking about, okay, the industry is prepared and the makers are here, the people are here. Are the brands aligned with consumers? Or when you are searching for brands, is it a struggle for brands to be transparent? And are consumers demanding this transparency?
Yes, so indeed, it is a struggle. So I think and that's why also one of the reasons why we also said, okay, we want to offer a collective of circular consultants, because we see from a supply side point of view, also there are still some struggles also. And the companies that we worked with, so circularity, I say it again, on a scale of 10, most of the companies are on scale 2 or 3. They use already recycled materials, maybe in design process they will review it, but there are so many different components also of circular economy that there is still a very big learning curve as such. So do consumers ask it? Yes. And that's why we have developed our own circular vetting process, where we ask every brand, we really want to have transparency, because if you want to be a trusted platform, we need to be sure that we don't have greenwashing brands, of course. So that's why we start a conversation if we see that they're interested about all their practices. It's going into production process, what kind of materials they use. So we have developed our own proprietary vetting process on a circular, not on a sustainable, because again, sustainable, I start even to hate the word, because we put everything under sustainable. No. So I think it's much more again about circularity, and you have also social fairness in it, on how you treat your labor force. So there are so many levels that consumers are more and more concerned about it. And so that's why we do the vetting process with the brands. And the vetting process also helps to give some recommendations to the brands. So if you, for example, use recycled fish nets, and you say, okay, we make swimwear with recycled fish nets, and you use only 2% in your materials of the material, I'm sorry, you're not circular. So that's, for example, greenwashing. So, and you see it, companies, they use it and they say, oh, recycled materials. And when you dive deeper in what the composition is, the materials and stuff like that, sometimes you have really bad surprises, and you need to confront them also with that. And these companies don't always want to listen to that, or they don't want to hear it. They listen it, but they don't want to hear it. And so that's also the struggle on how can you motivate companies to go to the next level, give them already some access where they can sell some of their products, not to be accused of greenwashing. It's a very thin line, and it's not an easy exercise.
Yes, when I was listening to you, and I remember the campaign that was marketed as a bit more conscious, and then because the fibers were natural, and then you had like 5% cotton, and it wasn't even organic cotton or certified, and I believe you have a lot of surprises with big and small companies, and it might be a struggle. And again, we are talking about educating companies and educating consumers. For the consumer, it cannot be enough to listen to the phrase recycled yarn or recycled plastic in the swimwear and be okay. I'm okay with this. Now you need to be a bit more, a bit deeper. And since you have worked with so many brands, and you currently work with so many brands, maybe to make an inspirational note for everyone who's listening, do you have some good examples of startups that are doing some difference here in Portugal or in the world using a circular economy approach, or I'm not saying sustainable, I promise, Vincent, but a more responsible approach?
Yeah, no, of course. No, there are. So I can quote some of the companies that I think are really interesting here. So I met in Porto Matter, and Matter, it's a very inspiring and visionary entrepreneur, Anna. So she has made a mission to recycle food, not food, but beer waste, chocolate waste, coffee waste, and use this to create new materials. And with these materials, even create new furniture, can be decorations. So I'm very impressed on what she's doing. She just was a finalist for the LVMH food camp, where waste is positioned as the new luxury, where I don't think it's a luxury, but we don't should have in any ways. But anyway, Matter is really, really interesting. Schizo, for example, is a company that I really like a lot. Vintage for a Cause in Porto is doing amazing things with upcycling clothes and creating whole new collections. Musco, for example, is more in the decoration, where they use wood scraps. Paper on the Rocks uses stone waste and makes notebooks that are not anymore linked to the use of trees. I can go on and on and on. We identified more than 150 companies in all Europe. So of course, because our categories are fashion, home, and lifestyle, we did it also with a very specific reason. Because if you want to make people change their consumer habits, and I think that's my advertising background also, you need to see that you have high involvement products where you have a certain emotional connection. People will only pick a message about high involvement products and not commodities. And also because these industries are the most polluting, and we really want to drive also the impact there. So that's why we choose those three categories. And we will certainly in the next weeks and months upload a lot more of brands. The problem is with COVID that all these inspirational brands also, they're quite hit hard by COVID. They struggle for surviving. So I don't know which companies will be at the end of the year still existing, but we try to help them now also with, for example, the stocks that they have, that we can really try with consultants, push them to quick sales, and at least have some cash flow. That is the way on how we try to help them right now.
That's so important, Vincent. So maybe we can stay on top of Crave's website and see which companies are there. So maybe we can support them as well. I'm very glad to say that 3 out of the 5 companies you mentioned, I have bought from them. So yay! I really love those companies as well. We will pay attention to Crave, and it's also important to see how a retailer can also help companies exist and be financially sustainable. You want to help them, and that is also responsibility. It's also, and I know you don't like it, but it's also sustainability. So congrats on your project. And Joana, if you know some really cool projects that we might all of us be looking at or investigating a bit more, it's also a good opportunity now to tell them.
Yes, so first of all, I invite you all to have a look at our community project, the Knitting Project. We are working on the second version of it, so it is, in terms of sustainability, we use the hashtag reprogram the machines, and I think it is also a very important point here. So we started with the quote saying that we are here to show how beautiful technology can be, and for us, and as Mr. Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems with the same mindset we had when we created them. It's not like that, but it's something like it. And if we really want to go into the circular shift, we need to understand that the technology is a great harm, right, left harms for it. So I think that we are working with lots of circular brands and sustainable brands. We also don't like the term sustainability because it is being used in so many wrong ways. But also at the Powerhouse, we are going to release a report about sustainability in the upcoming years. So we are thinking on, but demystifying what sustainability is, it is also important, and as thought leaders, for us it is very important to demystify exactly the term sustainability and how it should be applied in the industry, by brands, by consumers. So yeah.
That's a very complex question. What is sustainability? I wish you all the best trying to answer, because it really does mean different things to different people, and it shouldn't. If we have some questions, let me just look here. I don't know if anyone has a question. You can write it down and ask us. Of course, we have two really cool experts here that are happy to help and answer. If not, well, I hope you were inspired by their journey and their path. And please stay in touch with Crave and with Fundamento and with the Knitting Project and with all of the companies mentioned. And as a consumer, well, use your money wisely and help these companies that want to change the world. So you can have, you can say to your children that you help change the world. And thank you so much again, Dimium, for having us here. It was such a pleasure. Thank you, Joana. Thank you, Vincent. I learned a lot from you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall we start? Let me guess. They say you're mad because you dream. Roadless maps, nameless destinations. Coward! You reek of talent. Think you're different, unique. We'll see. You're dying to invent. Do the not yet done, possible the impossible, but not all alone, with someone like me. And who am I? Some call me the train, others opportunity, the chance. I'm more than you know yet. Your missing part, what you still are not, what you want still, what you need still. I can point the way, be the anthem to sway, the card you need, and the voice you heed. I'm the obstacle, the shortcut, memory, fortune, a helping hand, the perfect moment, the right step forward for moving onward, the opposite shore, the promised land. I'm the mistake, the applause, the problem, the solution, the pitch, the goal. I'm Marion, I'm Carl, I'm David, I'm Beth, I'm Frank, I'm Ria, I'm Ali, I'm Jeff, Basher. I am you.